Welcome into the ESPN FC studios alongside Craig Burley. I'm Sebastian Salazar. No secret, I think, Craig, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen that Manchester United are definitely in need of a rebuild under Ralph Rangnick. So let's do a little cut and keep, and we'll bring in Shaka Hislop to help us with this as well as we go through the Manchester United list of names that we're trying to decide, Craig, if these are the players that can get Manchester United back on top of that perch. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's start with number one. Paul Pogba, out of contract this summer. A player Manchester United should keep or let go?
Well, I don't know about Shaq, but if it's me, I can't get this guy out of the club quick enough. That's not to say that he's not going to go back to continental Europe, Italy or Spain, and be a success again. But in England, where the game's a little bit different, the climate's different, I am not, if I'm a new manager at Man United, going to rely on this guy. I want to get the money for him, which I can't, whatever I can get from him, and I want to get him out.
Reportedly wants £500 a week. Shaka, would you keep him?
Oh, I'd keep him for £500.
£500 a week, £500,000 a week. Number's not my strong point. What do you think? You agree with Craig, Shaka?
I do. Listen, I think Paul Pogba is one of the few world-class talents still in that Manchester United dressing room. The issue with Paul Pogba is, and we've said this before, I think he makes good teams better, but he's not the one you build a team around. So as of right now, in this rebuilding process, I don't think he serves Manchester United well at all. So get rid of him. It may come a time where you want to bring him back in, when you have all the pieces of the puzzle and you need somebody or you want somebody to add to it. I think that's where Pogba is at his best. But as of right now, where Manchester United are right now, he's not worth it.
All right, second on our list.
Not costing much, though.
No, at £500 a week, you almost got to keep him.
500 quid a week, I mean, I'll pay him.
Next on our list, Cristiano Ronaldo, who, of course, will be 37, Craig, in February.
So what are we talking here about, you know?
Well, yeah, he's got another, do you bring him back? Do you bring him back? I guess he's got another year on the contract, so beyond that.
No. Beyond his contract, no. He's not the...
What about for even the second season of his contract? Because I think the point here with Ronaldo is if you have him, you can kind of only play a certain way, right?
And we've no idea what that way is going to be anyway at Man United.
Well, it's definitely not what Rangnick wants to do.
Well, we don't know if Rangnick's going to be the long-term coach, who it's going to be, what the structure's going to be. But Ronaldo has had the most sterling career, but he's not the future. He's a stopgap at the moment in their hunt for goals, amongst other stuff. So, no, not any longer than he has to be.
Shaka, you agree?
I do. For footballing terms, I do not keep Ronaldo because of his age, as you touched on. I think the big complaint or my big concern around Manchester United in our dressing room is simply a lack of leaders and a lack of players who will step up to make others accountable. Back in our day, it was Roy Keane, it was Jaap Stam, Peter Schmeichel. Later on, it was Nemanja Vidic, others like that. I just don't feel there's that personality right now in this United dressing room outside of Cristiano Ronaldo. So maybe you keep him for that, to make others accountable. But is paying him whatever it is he's on now for that? I don't think so.
All right, so 2 for 2. It's a rebuild, but we haven't kept anybody. Let's move to Marcus Rashford, 24 years old, but development is kind of stagnated of late, hasn't it?
I mean, seen him do some really good things for England and at times for Man United. But
remember, the question here is to get Manchester United back to the elite level.
Well, you need a squad, and it's not just about 11 players. And I, for one, don't think there's a problem with his attitude. Yes, he has some off-field stuff that he's involved in, most of it charitable. But no, I don't.
You keep him.
I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. I think there's plenty of talent in there. I think a bit like Shaka was talking about with good teams, I think when United build themselves to a better team eventually, and I think it will happen with their financial clout, I think we'll see a better Marcus Rashford again. So, no, he's not high up in the list of people I think they desperately need to get rid of.
Shaka, what do you say? Rashford one for the future for Manchester United?
Absolutely. I keep Marcus Rashford, no questions asked. And while you may not have seen the best of him or the most consistent version of him for Manchester United, you look at his performances on an England shirt, all right, it's a different manager. And I've often said on air that international football is a totally different game from club football. But I think Rashford has shown enough to say that he deserves to stay at Manchester United. Craig touched on a lot of that. He's involved off the field. Again, for that reason, I keep him. I think a lot of what Marcus Rashford represents off the field is exactly who Manchester United are trying to be or aim to be as a football club. So both on and off, I have no hesitation in keeping hold of Marcus Rashford.
Rashford stays. Pogba and Ronaldo both gone.
Well, they're gone at some point, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the premise of this segment? I mean, should they just stay or go?
Yeah.
Right.
For the future, for Manchester United to get back to where they need to be.
About a guy 37 for the future.
Well, actually, the next one is probably the most interesting on this list. It's Harry Maguire, because he is obviously a key part of this team, but to get to that next level, is he really one of the world's best center backs? He was most expensive when they bought him.
I'll be honest, and I'll be honest here. I'm actually going to say, at the moment, unless you can go out and get me Virgil van Dijk and all these other centre-backs, I'm going to say stay. And I'll tell you why. I think there's a player in there. We've seen it before. He's taken England helped England get to the semi-final of a World Cup and the finals of the Euros. He's made this big money move. Man City were after him. United were willing to pay the money from City were not. There's a frustration that recent scenarios on and off the field are painting this guy in a poorer light than I think he actually is. I think he's a better defender than we've seen in recent months. And there's a better player in there, but he needs to get his head out his backside, basically, and square himself up. And if he doesn't do it, he will be cast aside. But whilst I don't think he's the greatest defender out there in the world, I'm not putting him in there with Van Dijk and Diaz and others. I think he's a good defender, but I think he's having a poor time. That's how I would assess Harry Maguire. Now, there's a lot of United fans who will be shouting, rubbish, he's absolutely hopeless. He's not hopeless. He's not hopeless, but he's not having a good time, that's for sure.
Shaka, where do you come down on Harry Maguire? Building piece for United?
No, I let him go. And to Craig's point, he's not having a good time. I don't think he's had a good time since he arrived at Old Trafford. He's played well for England. He was stand out for Leicester. But sometimes, again, international football can feel like a different game, and different players handle that. That limelight of being at a club like Manchester United differently. I don't think he's handled it well. I again have no hesitation in letting go of Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I had no hesitation in letting him go, but are we letting everybody go?
Well, we got to rebuild, right? I mean, that's the point.
Right, well.
Last on our list.
Get me Van Dijk and Diaz and he can go.
Wan-Bissaka.
Get me Rudiger and he can go.
Came over from Crystal Palace in 2019 for a pretty hefty fee. Has he convinced you?
No, he hasn't, and I think he'll go somewhere else eventually and have a good career. Not that he isn't having a good career, having made that move. I think to be the modern fullback in an elite level juggernaut of a club like Man United, you need to have a little bit of everything, and I don't think he's got enough going forward to complement his defensive strengths. In the old days, when you were a fullback and you had a winger in front of you and they went and did their business and they beat defenders and you did yours, Wan-Bissaka for me would be perfect. In the modern game, and the game has changed, the fullback is so much more. And I just feel the final third, attacking-wise, of his game lets him down. And I think that's been a real head-scratcher for those at Man United as well, who I think saw that in his game and thought they could improve it. And maybe it has slightly, but in my opinion, it hasn't improved enough. So, very fast, good defender, but hasn't got enough quality at elite level in the final third, and I think that so far for me is holding him back.
Shaka, what do you think of what Craig says? Is it the attacking third, that final ball that's really missing from Wan-Bissaka's game?
Without question. Listen, Wan-Bissaka is not a great defender, but then you can say that about a lot of right-backs in today's game and in years gone by. When I think of Wan-Bissaka, I think of the role that Trent Alexander-Arnold plays with Liverpool. Again, not great defensively, but he gives you so much in that attacking third. And in a bigger picture, at a higher level, Dani Alves, who himself got himself back in the headlines for Barcelona. Not great defensively, but so good in the attacking third that you simply could not do without him. And Wan-Bissaka, not great defensively, but doesn't give you enough to compensate. So again, he's on the scratch list for me.
All right, so for those keeping track at home, Paul Pogba, gone. Wan-Bissaka, gone. Harry Maguire was a split. Cristiano Ronaldo, gone. The only one you guys agreed upon to keep? Marcus Rashford.
Donny van de Beek.
Oh, well, he didn't make the list, so you can imagine where he might be in the discussion. I think Shaka's reaction tells you all you need to know. So, Ralph Ragnick, you're looking for a rebuild? You don't need to go far looking for advice. Just come to the boys here on ESPN FC.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.